Hello, everybody. Time for your midweek, midday connection call. This is Robin Robinson. I'm happy to join you again. And I know you think I'm going to talk about like Kamala Harris's VP pick. The politics is just taking over the news cycle, but we got to have a break. Let's just have a break for some fun, even though for some people, politics is their fun. But I mean, just really, not it. This is fun, but it also means so much, and it makes such a difference in our lives, which is the creativity that is shown all around us, whether it's film, books, movies, live performances. Black creatives contribute so much to how we feel and about the world, how the world feels about us. But we haven't always controlled that much of it. And there is a young man out of Chicago who has been working on changing that for over a decade now. And he has put together a film festival that's more than a film festival. We just keep calling it a film festival. It's like a festival of culture and all things creative. His name is Troy Pryor, and he is the founder of the Creative Cipher and of, now in its second year, the XL Film Fest. Hey, Troy, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. And in full disclosure, I'm on his advisory board, but I only joined recently. I'm like one of those people that jumps on the bandwagon after he put on this fabulous film fest last year that sold out, as I recall. You
Yeah,
couldn't get in it.
yeah, it was a success.
It was a success. And it's very Southside based. And it also happens to be the same weekend this year as the Democratic National Convention. I'm going to say your folks going to have more fun. Okay. And you'll probably get some crossover. You'll probably get some visitors that are here for the DNC and want to come and hear. It really is also political, oftentimes, the things that we create.
Absolutely. There's a lot of politics involved in media and owning the narrative.
Owning the narrative. So you and I first connected. You've done Creative Cipher. First of all, describe that for people, what Creative Cipher is.
So, on paper, Creative Cipher is a media company that I launched 10 years ago. We produce content, live events. We've produced uh, music videos, films, comedy shows. It's just a robust entertainment company. Now, what is not on paper is that it's an ecosystem of creators, and that's really how it operates. It started with about 30 Black filmmakers in Chicago that would connect on one another's projects, and it just continued to grow into this community of artists that continue to collaborate with one another.
It's funny because I discovered it during the lockdown, during the quarantine. Call it what you want, right? I was at home, and those of us who try to be creative, it doesn't always come when you want it to, and there's not always the kind of encouragement that you're looking for. And I said, I'm gonna join this. This sounds like a cool online community, a way to connect when we were all feeling fairly isolated. And I just love the concept. And one of the reasons there's a need for it is because the infrastructure of monetizing creativity, right? The studios, the agencies, the distribution companies, all of it, very little of it is Black owned, isn't it?
That's very true, and that's for generations. It's been like that. You can have the most amazing artists with great, art and entertainment decades ago, but never own that content. And then when you think about the potential impact um, on their family, that could have been generational wealth that was building because of that art. And there's so many jazz performers and musicians that never owned their works, and someone else's, grandkids, great grandkids are benefiting from that.
Oh, that was so political of you. You meant white folks' grandkids and great grandkids are benefiting from that. Is that what you meant? Okay, we know that appropriation, capitalization of our creativity. Not to mention the fact that the Black story is the most compelling story. And I know I'm biased, but if you look at the so-called majority film festivals that are not necessarily about Black people, oftentimes the centerpiece, the most popular, the most talked about are films with either black actors, Black themes, Black history. It's almost, you can't have a creative creation that's going to really resonate with people without Black people. Yet we didn't, as you say, we didn't own any film festivals. I can only think of, and I probably don't know them all, but I can only, like the Acapulco Film Festival was Black owned, wasn't it?
Yes, and I believe that evolved into ABFF. I think big involved in ABFF, what Jeff Friday is doing there, Pan African. So there are other black owned film festivals in the country. In Chicago in the Midwest, there aren't any. There
I
aren't
see.
any at scale, at least.
Right. And there aren't that many in the country.
Oh, not at all. No.
So you and I met, actually, we both were on the Black Perspectives Committee of the Chicago International Film Festival before they realized you couldn't actually contain the Black creativity in a single committee. But, we've seen that the Black filmmakers, whether it was the actors, the directors, the producers, even the costume designers, they would come for the Black Perspectives Committee. We have Ruth Carter after, right before she won the Academy Award for the design for Black Panther. We've had Denzel Washington, Forrest Whitaker, Halle Berry. All the probably the large Sidney Poitier, the largest names in film that just happen to be Black, came to that film festival because as the Black Perspectives Committee, we asked them to. So now the question becomes: is there a need for a so-called Black film festival? Because Black films dominate, oftentimes, many of the festivals.
I would say absolutely, because the thing with the film festival is we immediately go to the idea of the films that are playing on the screen. And as a curator, as a producer, you have to think about the overall experience, not just sitting in the seats watching the projects, because I don't want to water it down. But listen, if you have a large institution and you've got access to distributors, you can get a project. You can get a project, and if you've got a nice footprint, that studio will fly talent out and they're there, right?
Right.
So you can kind of make that happen. What you can't replicate is the experience that someone has when they get out of their seat and they walk out of the theater.
Mhm.
That's that you can't mimic that, and that's what's been missing. And so when we launched Excel Fest, we knew that we can curate the films. We knew that we can get just great content, but what we wanted to focus on was the overall experience that our audience had, and the experience that the filmmakers had when they would come to our festival. And that's why Excel Fest has really evolved into more of a storytelling experience versus just focusing on film. Film was a great way to launch the experience because it gave us a foundation, but we always knew that 80% of the energy at film festivals are not people sitting in the seats watching the films.
That's right. It's connecting. It's connecting around all the different elements of filmmaking or of making anything creative. So you also have a video game segment, or
Yes.
how does that? I know
Yes.
you're going to attract some young people with that for sure.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I started in the industry as a voice actor, so before I did any, I was doing voiceover work. I remember one of the earliest projects was a mocap, a motion capture project. So I
Thank you for explaining what mocap means, but go ahead.
So when you watch it, now when you watch the fact that I'm saying when you watch is a testament to how games have evolved. The gaming world has evolved so much to where it is operating just like a larger TV film studio. A lot of what were called RPG or role playing games. They started to write out scripts. You were following a character. There was a plot line. There were twists. There were all these other things, and so you started to see mainstream actors say, "You know what? Instead of this film, I'm going to go over here and sign on to be a character in this video game." So the idea of storytelling in multiple platforms expanded into the gaming community. So when you look at some of the most popular video games, they're not just like Mario Brothers Jump, grab a token. It's a movie. Like you're
Mm,
literally watching a movie, and you may even be able to follow those characters over the course of years as the
right.
games evolve, just like you were watching a sequel to another film. So we wanted to highlight that and talk about how storytelling is a huge part of the gaming world now.
Okay, and you aren't just showcasing. I mean, I know you have a lot of films there. There are at Harper Theater. You're going to be screening some films, and I want to hear from you about what you're most excited about. But you also are nurturing kind of the creative content from people who have not had access to to, as you talked about, if you have the connections, you can land wherever you need to land. But people who have not had access to the industry, and you're going to be showcasing some of the results of that. Now, you're years in. You planted these seeds years ago.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. It's so interesting to see and to have had the opportunity to observe the process of some of those filmmakers. We launched about 5 years ago the Chicago Film Accelerator, and that was a development lab to support these creators. And we wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity to celebrate their art, and so those experiences did really well. And then we said, well, we can do that. Let's build on this, and that became the festival that we then built all the celebrity around. But at its core, it was about providing access to these brilliant minds that oftentimes get overlooked. And I um, understand that to some degree because listen, we're all biased, right? We think our art is the greatest thing in the world, but I can say that I know that there are times that I knew I had an idea, I knew that I could do something with it. I just didn't have the resources or the
Mhm.
access, and so there's a level of empathy when I see creators that are onto something, and the only thing that's slowing them down is lack of access. It's not talent. It's not anything else. And so when we launched our accelerator, it was specifically designed to accelerate these brilliant minds that just needed a push. And so the festival allows us to build on that because now that their content is done,
Mhm.
you can also hit a roadblock of what do I do with it now? So we wanted to make sure we celebrated that. And then we thought even beyond our festival because we were all about community. And we said, well, there are other festivals that we can collaborate with in the US and the UK. So if you screen at Excel, you're automatically put into another category where we actually start to push you towards other festivals. So if
Okay.
you're a creator, you get a whole network of opportunities to showcase your work, and that access could change your life.
You're building pathways that didn't previously exist.
Yes,
It's going to be a game changer, for and we may take us years to see the results of it, but the other result could be something that impacts everyone, not just Black creators. I'm very good friends with Tom Burrell, who was the first Black advertising agency owner and who convinced McDonald's that Black people could be in regular old commercials, being regular old families, and he believes that those images we see continuously inform us much more than what we're taught. Right?
yes,
We're taught, yeah, Black people are okay, we're equal. Then the images we see in commercials and television and movies does not carry that through. So that's where you get the idea that they're not equal and are not capable, not even nice, right? So I think that the content that we may see, we may be just watching for entertainment, but when you see Black people doing content about Black people, well, you would hope that there would be. Doesn't always have to be, uplifting, but at least it's not going to always just take advantage of our most entertaining and negative stereotypes. It's going to
absolutely.
change what we see every day.
Yeah, it plays a huge role. We talked about early on the politics of it all, the way that we view one another. I oftentimes quote Mr. Burrell, who I joke and say he wouldn't sit down and have a meeting with me until I read his book Brainwashed, and I feel like it
And we
maybe
should all read it. Read that book, y'all.
maybe it was just a coincidence, but it seemed like he was always on the go. And as soon as I said I read the book, he sat down and had a meeting with me. But to your point, there's the ability to control the narrative has amazing implications on how we not only view one another, but we view our own self worth, our value. And it's important to understand why things are greenlit, why things aren't
Mhm.
greenlit, and who's in the decision making the decision making process.
Right. And sometimes why they're making the decisions they're making, that they're not even clear on why they're making those decisions. It's just something about you. Can't put my finger on it. It's your implicit bias. But it could change things as much, if not more, than our concentrated efforts to change things, right? To have, real history taught in schools, to, fair election laws, but to have how people, how we view one another. I really think I've always thought that the creative side, even if it's not, doesn't have to be a documentary, it can be fiction, but it has an impact on you. So I don't want people to hear about XL Film Fest and get all excited and then find out that you're sold out again. So let's be sure. Can we put up something that shows how they can buy tickets to this? Because you also have not just films, but some really illuminating conversations. I know last year you had Robert Townsend was kind of one of your main folks. And this year you have the Tate brothers. Everybody knows Lorenz Tate, right, as an actor, but I didn't know that there were three of them as a family business.
Oh yeah, family business. Lamar actually plays on Power
Okay.
with Lorenz as well, and LaRon runs Tate Men Entertainment. So we're really excited to showcase that because you're going to gravitate towards the folks in front of the camera, but we are very adamant about talking about the business of show. So it's good that
Right.
they can talk about the reason you see Lorenz so much is because they understand the business and they've built an apparatus to continue to move them forward.
And you, what any other? I know we have that conversation is on Saturday night. You also have, and I'm not really sure what it is, or if you can tell me. I know you always have these surprises, like a Walk of Fame or something that else is happening Saturday night. What can you
Yeah,
tell us about
I
that?
can put it out there. It's not, I mean, it's not a secret. We just haven't promoted it. So, one of the things that we've always wanted to do was implement a Walk of Fame like moment. So, I got with the University of Chicago, the Southeast Chicago Commission, and aldermen, the powers that be in
Hmm.
Hyde Park, and pitched the idea of a Walk of Fame plaque that would go into the ground in front of Harper Theater. The first plaque will be honoring William Foster posthumously, the founder of the first black film production company. So his family will be there to accept the award, the plaque. It's pretty heavy. I have it here, but I'll leave it on the ground. Uh,
Okay.
but we are kicking that off at Excel. And then that moment is going to be something we're going to continue to do at least once or twice throughout the year. The next two honorees are already planned out, and we're really excited about that. So that's what that moment will be. We're going to unveil it at the film festival, and then we'll go into the ground later this month. Excuse me, later this year.
Well, yeah, there's no reason to only have that one Walk of Fame in Hollywood. It's kind of a crappy part of town anyway. Right in Hyde Park is people will want to go and visit there.
Yes.
Um, well, it's going to be exciting stuff. It's not outrageously expensive to attend. I suggest that people get their tickets early because, as we said last year, it did sell out, and there's plenty to choose from. If you're interested in the business of filmmaking, or if you're interested in the creative side, or you've got it broken down into anybody who's just interested in film and culture and
Mhm.
creativity. So, Troy, thank you so much for joining us. The founder of Creative Cipher and XL Fest. I still have Film Fest up there, but it's just a fest. Okay, it's of
All
things
right.
creative, right? Creative that can be shared, capitalized, make a difference. Anything that we did that you want to make sure people know and we didn't cover?
Just no, I think we covered it all. Just thank you for having me on the show. Come out, enjoy your time, take photos, follow us on social media. All of those analytics help us. So if you're out there listening,
Hmm.
make sure that you like, subscribe, tag us because it helps us attract the partners that will help us scale this festival even further.
Okay, let me tell you, Troy's creative, but he is also a businessman. Okay, so he believes that people should be paid for their talents and efforts, and I think that's a good model for creatives who often get lost in the creative process and wake up broke. So, Pryor, thanks so much. XL Film Fest. I will see you at the fest, and that's in other news right now. And I hope you'll join us again. Be sure to thank all the people you need to thank, Robin, which is Cindy Beasley, your producer, Sybil Holloway for your podcast studio that you're not using today, and Lou Hinkhouse and Nick Nonstop Nicholson, and all of you. Thanks so much. Be sure to try to subscribe so we can stay in the podcasting game.